June 18, 2023. Early evening. Bounty's Close, Coventry. A quiet residential street. No flashing lights. No raised voices. Just another summer night where nothing seemed out of place. But behind one ordinary front door, a betrayal was already in motion. One so calculated, so cold, it would leave an entire city stunned. This wasn't a crime of rage. This wasn't a mistake. This was a plan. A woman who pretended to be a friend, a teenager who was slowly groomed into violence, and a pensioner whose trust would cost him his life. Tonight, we uncover the first of 5 real cases involving women whose crimes shattered lives, families, and communities. This is the story of Antoinette Shepard, and once you hear it, you won't forget it. Case 1, Antoinette Shepard, 44. Coventry, June 18, 2023. Antoinette Shepard was 44 years old. Known locally, often dismissed, sometimes pitied. To neighbors, she was just another troubled woman on the estate. What no one saw was the influence she held over a 17-year-old boy named Kieran Spicer. The court would later describe their connection as bizarre. Police would describe it as manipulation. Together, they chose a victim who trusted her completely. Michael Brady, a pensioner in his 70s, gentle, vulnerable, and convinced Antoinette was his friend. CCTV later showed him walking willingly into her home shortly after 6 p.m. Calm, unaware. At that exact moment, messages were being exchanged upstairs. Not about tea, not about conversation, but about robbing him and what would come after. Inside the house, the violence exploded. Kieran Spicer attacked first. A machete-like blade came down again and again. Head, shoulder, body. He stamped on Michael's chest, crushing bones as the older man cried out, begging for his life. Then Antoinette stepped in. She took a blue rope, and she finished it. Michael Brady never left that house alive. Afterwards, there was no panic, no regret. They took his bank card, forced the pin from him, withdrew over 300 pounds, spent it on alcohol like nothing had happened. To hide what they'd done, they folded his body into a large television box and dragged it into a shed outside. It might have stayed hidden if neighbors hadn't noticed something wasn't right. Police searched the shed and found the truth. Antoinette was arrested at the scene. Spicer was later detained after telling a social worker he'd been asked to help hide a body. West Midlands police uncovered everything: CCTV, phone messages, cash withdrawals. Every step planned, every lie exposed. In December 2023, both were found guilty of murder. Antoinette Shepard was sentenced to life imprisonment, minimum 30 years. Kieran Spicer received 18 years. The judge called it exceptionally brutal. Michael Brady's family called it unthinkable. A man trusted the wrong person and paid with his life. Trust can feel harmless until it's weaponized, and sometimes the most dangerous violence doesn't come from strangers, but from inside a shared home. Case 2. Laura Shanley was 36. Coventry, September 17, 2024. Edmund Road, another quiet street, another front door hiding a breaking point. Laura Shanley was 36, a mother, and trapped in a relationship fueled by alcohol, arguments, and control. Her partner, Alfred James Corbett, was 34. His family described him as gentle, loyal, slowly worn down. On the night it ended, Laura had been drinking heavily with friends. Alfred had attended a staff event. They came home separately, but the argument waiting for them was familiar. Her drinking, his concern, her anger. In the kitchen, Alfred begged her to put the knife down. She didn't. Laura Shanley drove a large kitchen knife, 11 centimeters, into his chest. Moments later, she dropped to her knees beside him, screaming, "What have I done?" At 4 a.m., emergency services were called. But instead of truth, she lied. She told officers Alfred had arrived home already bleeding. Inside the house, police found the knife in the sink. Another woman in the home later told investigators something chilling. Laura had asked her, "Have you got my back?" She was arrested immediately. At first, she denied everything. Then slowly, the truth surfaced. Prosecutors laid bare the pattern: control, manipulation, alcohol-fueled fear. This wasn't a sudden explosion. It was the final act of a toxic dynamic. On October 1st, 2025, Laura Shanley was found guilty of murder. She received a life sentence, minimum 16 years. Alfred Corbett's family described a grief that would never fade. A life ended on his own kitchen floor. The court made one thing clear: violence doesn't always start with a knife. Sometimes it starts with fear and silence. By the time police tape is pulled down, lives are already broken. Some crimes are planned, others explode in seconds, and sometimes the youngest people make the most irreversible choices. Case 3. Ellie Wayne, 18. Willenhall, Coventry, June 1, 2020. Middle ride. A quiet estate. Teenage voices, loud music, too much alcohol. Ellie Wayne was just 18 years old. So was her boyfriend, Kieran Brown. They lived together. They argued often. Friends described the relationship as volatile. On again, off again, never stable. That night both had been drinking heavily. Cannabis was involved. Tempers rose quickly. An argument inside the flat turned into shouting. Ellie told Kieran to leave, but the fight didn't stop at the front door. Ellie went back inside and came out armed with a kitchen knife. Witnesses saw them arguing in the street. Then a struggle. Both fell to the ground. In that chaos, Ellie stabbed Kieran once. Just once, but the blade went 12 inches into his chest, straight through his heart. A relative rushed him to hospital. Doctors tried everything. Kieran Brown was pronounced dead shortly after 10 p.m. Ellie was arrested that same night. When police told her he had died, she refused to believe it. She said it was an accident. She said she carried the knife for protection. But the evidence told a different story. CCTV showed the confrontation. Forensics showed the force. Witnesses recalled Ellie earlier saying she'd stab anyone who came near her. In December 2020, a jury rejected self-defense. Ellie Wayne was found guilty of murder. She was sentenced to life imprisonment, minimum 17 years. Kieran's family called their grief a life sentence, a future erased in seconds. The detective leading the case said one thing stood out: a knife carried in anger leaves no second chances. When loyalty becomes complicity, not every crime is committed alone. Some are followed by a choice: tell the truth or help hide it. Case 4. Ramona Bodensa, 22. Coventry, January 30, 2013. Ramona Bodensa came to the UK from Romania chasing something simple: a better life. Her best friend, Georgiana Stuparu, helped her get there. Gave her shelter, support, trust. That trust would end in blood. Ramona was struggling. So was her partner, Berger, desperate in debt and running out of options. On that January evening, Berger disguised himself as a client and entered Georgiana's flat. When she recognized him, the argument exploded. Berger had come prepared. He pulled a knife bought earlier that day. In the struggle, he stabbed Georgiana 4 times. One blade pierced her heart. Later, he admitted he searched for it because he wanted her dead. Ramona wasn't there for the killing, but when Berger called her afterward, she didn't call police. She helped. Together, they dragged Georgiana's body into the bedroom, wiped blood from the floor, tried to stage the scene. They dumped the knife and bloody clothes in Woodland, tried to burn evidence, even texted from Georgiana's phone to make it seem like she was alive. Their mistake: selling her phone. Police traced it, tracked them to a hotel. Both were arrested. Ramona pleaded guilty to assisting an offender. She received 2 years and 4 months. Berger received life imprisonment. Georgiana's family couldn't afford to take her home. She was buried in Coventry. This case left one truth behind: helping hide a crime doesn't erase guilt. It only spreads it. When violence lives inside a family, sometimes danger doesn't come from outsiders. Sometimes it grows inside the home. Case 5. Annette Slevin, 54. Coventry, December 24-26, 2015. Annette Slevin was no stranger to violence. In 2008, she killed her own brother, beating him to death with a mop. She served time. She was released. Years later, history repeated itself. Christmas Eve, 2015. Annette's sister Carol came to help prepare dinner. An argument broke out. Annette attacked her, leaving her with 2 black eyes. Carol left. She came back the next day. It was a mistake. Annette had been drinking vodka heavily. She blamed Carol for burning the turkey. The violence this time was relentless. She struck her with a hard flask, pulled her hair, then picked up a claw hammer. Carol's knees, arms, and hands were smashed. Each time she tried to escape, Annette dragged her back. Carol begged her to stop. She didn't. The attack only ended when Annette dropped the hammer. Carol collapsed, unable to move. She lay on the floor through the night. On Boxing Day morning, relatives arrived and called police. The hammer was recovered, covered in blood and hair. Annette tried to blame other family members. Her story collapsed quickly. Given her past conviction, the court made one thing clear: Carol's fear of being killed was entirely reasonable. In July 2016, Annette Slevin pleaded guilty to grievous bodily harm with intent. She received an extended 12-year sentence. The judge said she posed a serious danger. Carol said she genuinely believed she was going to die. Violence, once unleashed, rarely stays buried. 5 cases, 5 different women, 5 different paths to devastation. Some planned, some impulsive, some hidden behind trust, love, or family. But every one of them left the same result: a life taken, and many more destroyed. Behind these quiet streets lie secrets meant to stay buried. If these stories disturbed you, that's because they should. Because the next one could already be unfolding, just a few doors away. If you want the next episode, say the word.